you in DeFi Kingdoms and suffering from endless quest fatigue? So was I, and in a bear market, the number of heroes that we're holding on to just keeps getting larger and larger. So I've started to use DFK Helper, an automation service that takes out all of the guesswork, and on my secondary wallet, it's running hundreds of heroes on quests, sending them on DFK duels, trading their items, listing them on the tavern, and much more. You get to customize every single one of your heroes on a spreadsheet if you want to, and on top of that, you get to monitor your wallet and all of your heroes and what they're doing on Telegram. Oh, look at that, I just got an egg. They've even put together a wide variety of plans that can fit your needs and your budget. They've even got a mythic plan for our friend Crypto Grady and his never-ending stream of heroes and wallets. And don't worry, if you ever need immediate support, both Coolio and Zealous are always around to help. So what are you waiting for? Don't you want your life back? Check out if DFK Helper is right for you at the link below and support the brown gent at the same time. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Brown Gent channel. I need to come up with a smaller trailer. I realized we were definitely not going to wait the full 9 minutes to go live today. Just for you guys to know some background. I know I mentioned I've been away on vacation. I was in Mexico 2 weeks ago. Came back last Sunday for like half a day. Flew out to Iceland, the UK. Literally after a 10-hour travel day plus delays. I literally walked in the door a few minutes ago and wanted to get this stream out there because we have some really important information that we wanted to drop. We have a very special guest here today in Mellow Fellow. Welcome to the stream. And today he's going to share some insight about the DFK item economy. So with that, Mellow Fellow, I'll pass it to you.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, we've been, we have gone live a little bit later than we first expected.
Yes. Thank you for being accommodating. I know we've had to, Air Canada has really screwed the pooch the last 24 hours. So thank you for being so flexible.
Yeah, it's 3:30 in the night here in the Netherlands now. So it's, but it's fine. I still have some energy to keep going, but let's dive into it quickly, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to talk about some things regarding the item economy and what I'm doing with my items from quests, and I'm actually buying a lot of the items. I'm not saying that's a very good idea at the moment, probably going down a bit more.
Yes, you know what? For our viewers, maybe some context. How long have you been in DeFi Kingdoms? What got you involved, and sort of what piqued your interest about this item economy?
Okay, so I've been in from like the end of 2021, I think, in the garden. So when Duel was just beyond its peak, but still a couple of dollars and then going down. Bought my first heroes probably around March last year. And then I got really interested in, well, the full depth of the game and the project. Yeah, and I think from the end of last year on, I used, I started making a lot of spreadsheets. And yeah, it's just all the information in the game that really attracted me. And I was looking for ways to make some money, and the stone carver, for example, was one way to do it, to make some stones. And then when the stone carver went away, to flip those stones. So that's one of the things also I want to talk about, or one of the things I've done. But since then, the amount of options or things to do with the items has gone down, in my opinion, or there's been not as much stones used. Tiers have gone up a lot. So it's mainly the tier factor at the moment.
Do you find that automation has helped or hinder the item economy? Because like everyone, I mean, you saw the ad you were mentioning, you use DFK Helper as well. You know, when you first started, bots were not common, and now it feels like everyone's using a bot. You know, like I hear from some people I've seen on Twitter, they're like, without a bot, I wouldn't play DFK right now. You know, like, do you find that because I wouldn't say the majority, but a big portion of the DFK playing populace is using bots. Have you found that to have a huge impact on the item economy? And has that been positive or negative in your experience?
Yeah, I think there are a lot less people would quest their heroes without bots, or well, definitely because some of the very large wallets it's just not doable without a bot. And I think it's good for the overall economy of the game that people have been using bots, but gold and the items, like tiers and well, all the other items would have had higher prices probably if people didn't bot. But I think it's a good thing
Right.
that people do use bots, especially in this stage of the game. Hopefully later on, more automation is integrated and more. Well, there's more people using less heroes because I currently have, I think, 399 heroes, and well, it's just a different way to play the game at the moment.
Is that the max you
You
can use for your DFK helper plan? Is that why it's 399? It's very
know,
specific.
yeah, I wanted to get a. So I have the one wallet with 400 heroes at the moment,
Uh-huh.
and I want to change it up to have some more heroes and preferably more wallets because I want to do different things with um, well the buy and sell options as well on different wallets. So I would like to
Yeah.
make a different wallet to be able to craft stones, but not use the tiers and items I'm using to buy and sell at the
Yeah.
moment.
Okay. And by the way, just for everyone else, I hope you appreciate he's taking the time out of his day to sort of explain this to me and to all of you. And I think what is it, 2:30 a.m. your time? So
Yep.
thank you for staying up late for this.
Yeah, I don't have any work to do tomorrow, so I work as a philosophy teacher, and it's school holiday at the moment.
Okay,
So
awesome.
that's a good thing. Um, did you ask another question beforehand, or
No, you sort of answered it. I was wondering, like, I mean, obviously, item inflation can be a deterrent, but at the same time, who knows if like the number of tiers weren't being pumped up the way they are right now, the supply would be even less, and then the demand, would not be satisfied, meaning the price would go even higher and higher and higher. So, like, I wonder what the price of tiers would have been if bots were banned and they didn't exist, right? Can you imagine? Like a lot of people I talk to, they generate hundreds of tiers daily just because you log in, it's there for you. But if you had to sit there and click on 1,000 heroes, people will do that maybe for a day and then they just forget it. I don't have the time.
yeah? But probably egg prices would be higher as well, and people
Yeah.
would need less pets. Um, I think just the mythic pets would be very expensive, and
Yeah.
then the common and uncommon pets would be worthless as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
now for the amount of heroes we have and the amount of players we have, it's not. Yeah, you
Yeah.
need bots. I think. Yeah.
100%. I think that because every hero can quest, bots are useful. I think that might have been an oversight by the team. I think that's sort of why they're talking about looking to find a way to curb hero inflation through summoning cooldowns. There's been a sort of big discussion on Twitter this last few days. But yeah, so what do you do with your items, and like what's the strategy that you're utilizing? I know you have some slides prepared.
Um, yeah, so in my slides, the first slides are actually about just the price of gold. Maybe I can just start
Sure.
and go through it a little bit, but I'll go through the first ones very quickly, I think. So the gold price has gone down. I think most people looking at the item price and stuff will know this. But at the same time, I feel like uh, gold is undervalued
Yeah.
compared to the other items in game, especially if you look at it long term. So the main question for me has been if I want to hold some gold and buy more gold, then what can I do with it to make at least some return on it?
To be clear, this is the gold versus the price of Jewel, right? So like Jewel price
No, this is the
USD.
price versus the US dollar.
Oh, it is. Okay.
So I can switch it to
Oh,
Jewel
sorry,
here.
sorry. It's hard for me to see here. Okay. So you're saying, so because that also makes sense from a token perspective, right? Because we know that Duel pumped from like 20 to 30 cents near the end of the year, and it's been steadily declining. I think it's at 15 cents right now, right? So gold, technically as part of the DeFi ecosystem is sort of following the trend of like the big assets there, right?
So I'm pulling up the chart here.
Yeah. And for those of you who are watching on the screen, it's dexscreener.com. It's probably one of the best tools that you can use to search up any coin. Like coins that just come out, as long as you sort of have the name, you can sort of verify the contracts and see where you can actually purchase those tokens. Well, while you're doing that, I'm just going to go to the comments here. So we got Vibes in the chat saying, finally, good to see you, Vibes. N1 certified. And this question's for you, Mellow Fellow. Should they integrate some automation into the game themselves, sort of like a power up? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. I think Zealous was actually, or really wants his DFK helper to be integrated into DeFi Kingdoms eventually.
Yeah.
And I don't really see a reason not to, because the questing just takes too much time if you want to do all the other things in the game. And when we get crafting, land usage, all those things, PvE, you don't want to spend your time on manually doing all the quests. You just want to do the really fun parts, like the summoning, the crafting, the PvE, PvP.
Yeah. I think this really gives a value to the staking piece, right? Like where if you stake some C Joule or S Joule and you get to use the automation feature. I know they mentioned this like before they even released C Joule and S Joule, that was sort of one of the benefits, was some sort of like auto quester, they didn't say automation, but they said auto quester, and I assume that it could sort of apply to everything like that DFK helper does. I would like to see them work with the devs versus just take what the devs have done and sort of be like, okay, perfect, you've done all that for us. We'll sort of duplicate that and we'll take it from here. And then poor Zealous and Coolio would sort of get screwed. I don't want to see that happen because the devs, like the reason that people are so into this game right now is, yes, DeFi Kingdoms, the team's done a fantastic job, but the extra developers who aren't part of the team who have created resources like DFK Quester, DFK History, Lila's Ledger, ADFK especially. ADFK is an amazing resource, right? DFK Analytics, all of these resources, they each do small little things, which I can't imagine playing DFK without some of these tools, because it's like so entwined in sort of our decision making, right? And I would hate to see like some of that being pulled away from them and just implemented into the game, and then they sort of lose it. Whereas they have the opportunity to have these sort of partnerships now, right? Through like the power ups and stuff.
Yeah, it's way more efficient as well, right?
Yeah.
They know what they've made the best, so if they can work together in some way to get parts of it integrated, that would be very, very nice.
Yeah, exactly. Also,
What
hi
you're
JQ.
saying
Sorry, what were you
is
saying?
right. There's so many good content creators in the space.
Oh, yeah.
Like only the most diehard players are or remaining, and there's so many people contributing like really amazing things to the space. That's very nice about DeFi Kingdoms.
That is a very good segue. Let me do something quickly. Where is it? So I actually haven't had, I did have a stream. I forgot to sort of show this. Let me just do that. Give me 1 second. Present your screen. So actually, I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago, I submitted a half application, I think, prior to Christmas, and I had some errors in it. I never know how to like I get bombarded with emails, so it sort of just slipped by, and I sort of fixed it. And the DFK team reached out to me and said, "Hey, we want to put you in the in the castle under artists." So now the YouTube channel for the Brown Gent is now available under Kingdom content. You can see it right here. So that's pretty sweet. It's pretty awesome, and I'm happy to see that, and I'm happy to see this grow with a ton of other content creators, right? Like the Mythic Squad with Starbuck, Beeve, and Mosh, Christian Peter, DFK Today, Crypto Grady, Bogside Chats, Matty Pest, Franz, and Guy Kidd, ADFK, Raf, and Nine Dorf, right? About Life podcast with Shane, or Too Honest, Skiller, and be easy, and Sergeant, Filthy McNasty in the debate show. It's good to see tons of people in this, and love to see more people in there. What a lot of people don't know is when DFK first started, they hired a bunch of content creators, people who weren't really into the game, but people who wanted money, and they got paid to do these kind of things. And when DFK, there was some FUD around it, all they did was talk shit about the project. So now you have people who are actually playing the game and doing this because they love the ecosystem versus people who are doing it for like ulterior reasons. So it's nice to see that that's what this is sort of built out of. Just to sort of catch up in the rest of the comments, how's it going, JQ? And yeah, Vibes is right. Dex screeners, everything. You can find out the liquidity, the volume, the fees, the exact contract address. This part is so important, especially with typically you'll see like a coin like Pepe is being like very, very big the last few weeks, right? Tons of new Pepe coins are coming out, and you want to make sure, I'm not saying you should buy it, but if you buy it, you'll buy the right one. Didn't know Jules back to 18 cents. Welcome, Sir Mir. How's it going? Yeah, and thank you, Vibes. Thank you for the congratulations. And Vibes, honestly, I would do it. You just turn the camera on and just record. You'll just, the moment dude, if I showed you the videos, my first few videos, they were hella embarrassing. Like, take 100 is what showed up on YouTube, and I cringe every time I see it. It's all hidden now, but it's like a continuous improvement thing, right? You get 1% better, just turn the camera on, just hit record, just go. It'll only get better. Just got to put yourself out there, and it's a lot of fun. And also, as you do it, the community is great. You'll be able to jump on people's shows. Hopefully, Mellow Fellow's here. I know one thing you mentioned is you want to make a video, and hopefully this can be something you parlay, or, if you want to keep going, that'd be fantastic. And yeah, and Vibes, we would 100% support you. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? All right. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Mello, to talk about the items and gold.
All right. So this is the gold Duel chart.
Yeah.
So it looks pretty similar. It has gone down a lot as well, although it has flattened out earlier here. So let's go. So there's a couple of ways that gold is added to DeFi Kingdoms. So it's applied by gold mining, training quests. A lot of people have been doing training quests now, at least compared to what they likely will be doing. So that may slow it down a little bit, but because training quests give quite a lot of gold. And hopefully the vendor items sales will go down as well.
Yeah. There's not enough hatching too, right? Because when green eggs launched, 5K per boon, I think, right? For hatching, that's going to be huge as a sink.
Exactly, that's one of the demands, because the other demands are like the stamina potions a little bit, and then the lesser stones. But lesser stones aren't being crafted as much anymore.
Yeah.
But I hope the the pet feeding will have an impact as well.
Yeah, I think pet feeding is going to replace stamina potions somewhat, because right now, people will use their best. I saw someone buy a Mythic Dread Knight level 1, and they basically just boosted it all the way to level 20 using stamina vials and stamina potions. When you add in these mythic pets onto these heroes, and then the XP, it cuts the amount of stamina potions required. So unless there is something required within this, like you said, within the pet feeding, they use gold, or something, a cost to attach the pet, right? Something like that.
Do you know what the benefit of the expensive pet food will be?
Yeah. So they showed it in the AMA. They had the percentage boost. I think it's 20% for 20%. Just for mythic, and then there's a range for the stars, right? So it's I think it's 4% for common, 8% for uncommon, 12% rare.
Oh yeah, that's the general experience boost for the.
That's correct. But then on
you
top of it,
have two types of pet food, right?
Sorry.
So you have the basic pet food and the more
premium pet food. Yeah.
So
they didn't share details on that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I hope the the more expensive one will, for example, give experience as well. Because I think the main way to sync items at the moment is for experience.
Yeah.
So all kinds of experience boosts. So we mentioned stamina potions, but also if you have to use more of the items in order to get more experience,
Yeah.
that will help a lot as well for using of the items. And you mentioned that you thought stamina potions will be used less, but maybe if PvP comes out and uh, they become a little bit cheaper, maybe
Yeah, it's
because you
possible.
need less, then people will actually use them more to level up their heroes.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I know stamina potions will be used for travel as well. So they mentioned, like, back
Mm.
before we had PJ quests, they mentioned, like, I think it was February 2022. They're like, hey, when we do PJ, in the same AMA they dropped that, they talked about having a travel function, and it would require tons of stamina to move. And sometimes if it's a distance, you don't have enough stamina, you'd have to use a stamina potion in part to do that. But yeah.
Okay, because one of the things I noticed is that the value of both stamina potions and Swift Pistol is extremely high compared to the total market cap of gold.
Yeah, and then the reason for that is Swift Thistle is like really hard to get because it's on Cyrodiil 2.0, where it really isn't profitable to quest in the absence of that, right? You know, one thing that I've been talking about a lot is you should be able to farm tons of stamina potions through DFK duels, right? Like what I've been doing is I said three, so I have my main wallet and then I have a ton of like my secondary and everything else. 3 heroes is all you need to run solo and squad, and you just farm, you know, with those heroes to grab the potions. They've even included Swift Thistle in the new DFK Duel Season 4 prizes, I believe. But imagine you have like 30 heroes. You can have, you know, like you put your priest, wizard, summoner in one. Then, you know, you run them on the solo and the squad, right? And then, especially near the end, like the last few days of the duels, you literally, I was going 1-9 in my duels sometimes and like getting like 60 points. It was absurd because everyone was so high. It is so hard not to completely, like, the system is very abusable. The part of the reason, you know, like, I don't like taking advantage of
Well,
systems, but as long as
it's
we're
as long
vocal
as you
about it,
have
sorry.
high level heroes, because you probably have a lot of heroes above level 10.
No, I don't actually. I sold a ton of them. So what I did is I was flipping those into Gen Zeros. I took all of that profit when they were overvalued, and flipped into it a third Gen Zero, right? Like not just by themselves, but I did all. I sold a ton. I liquidated them, right?
Mm.
But these were mainly like uncommon, rare, and there's like 2 legendaries, but like most of them weren't like very high stats, but like they were still like level 13, level 14 heroes. I'm like, let me get rid of those, right? Easy enough. And then now it's like, you know, I'm stacking up. I have a bunch of level 10s, level 11, level 9, level 8 mythics, but even my level 7, I have a level 7 berserker that was just like tearing duels apart on one wallet. You know what I mean? Because you don't even need, like, there's a lot of RNG in there anyways, right? So like even if you go like 2-8-1-9 at the end, you're still crushing duels. Like you're absolutely crushing duels. And that's like Ward, this doesn't really work, but for the other two, it's such an easy thing. I'm gonna do a very like comprehensive how to get ready for DFK Duel Season 4 video very soon, where I'm gonna show all the things I've done because I've talked about it in bits and pieces, but I'm gonna put together like a coherent strategy, which is week 1, week 2, here's what you do, everything else. But I don't
So
want to take away from.
I
Mhm.
actually tried it a little bit because you were talking about it at the end of last season, or just for one other wallet.
Yeah,
But I randomly sent heroes over, and DFK Helper for me used a lot of the heroes sometimes of my best heroes or
yeah,
highest level heroes. So I got the rewards in Crystalville, I think.
yeah.
Serendil has kind of high gas fees if you don't have the best
I
heroes.
don't use Serendale because that's why I use the other wallets because I don't deal with that. Yeah,
Mm. Um, but afterwards, so recently for my best heroes I put in all the what's it called, the elements and the backgrounds as well,
huh?
because for every hero I want to determine whether I want to level it as a crafter or as
Sure.
a PvP hero or together.
Uh-huh.
Because probably if you start leveling floor heroes now that have good crafting skills, you'll have them at a high level, so they will be actually really useful when crafting comes out.
Yeah.
But also for the duels, um, I want to make or match all the backgrounds for the or in my roster and then divide them over accounts to or between accounts to duel.
Right.
Is that part of your strategy as well?
Kind of. So like I one of the things I've been doing is, so I haven't adjusted my strategy for crafting because it's recent. But for PvP, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create, like, let's say you take, I don't know, a monk, okay? So monk is like probably like the jack of all trades, like really master of none, right? Like the 60, 60, 60, 60 on the top four. So what I do is I look at their skill sets and there are different trees, right? Of like abilities. So I'm trying to have a mythic in each, and I'm trying to build up different skill trees. So like I have the skill tree, which is the monk, right? The main subclass monk, where now it can do the special move, and I build it out that way. I level it accordingly. And but then I also have the monk, whatever, where it's like I'm leveling up these specific qualities, so it's good at this line, right? So like that's sort of how I've been approaching it. Obviously, right now it makes no difference because right now we're just rolling a dice, right? Right now it's just whatever. But I'm saying that like for crafting, because crafting is a year out. That's what they said, right? 1 year. I'm probably just gonna buy the heroes that I want, sort of like what I do with pets. I don't really hatch them. I just buy the ones I want.
So don't you think that if you would buy 100 floor heroes now and just look at their crafting skills
Yeah.
and then start leveling them, so you level wisdom if you need wisdom for the crafting, even though maybe it's not a gardener,
Yeah.
and you still have them garden or just do training quests, then well, you would probably want to buy even a common hero that is leveled properly if it's level 20, right?
Yeah, so like my strategy has always been like to focus on what is coming soon, which is PvP and PvE, right? So all the leveling I'm doing right now is for all the heroes I have doing that, because that is what I mean, I've been very vocal about this. My plan is to rotate all the inflationary assets into non-inflationary ones, right? And when I call something inflationary, the only things that are exceptions for me are like mythic nine-star pets, because you know what? They're always going to be needed, right? Mythic 9-star pets, that's the pinnacle. Mythic Gen 1 10 out of 10 basic, Mythic Gen 1 5 out of 5 advanced, Mythic Gen 2 3 out of 3 elite. These are the other heroes that people want, right? So I want to have, like, I don't know if you ever played Pokemon, but like when I was younger, there would always be kids, and I eventually became one of them, who'd like be on the playground with like a binder full of Charizards and whatever. That's what I want. I want to have the top assets in the game. So for me right now, that is Gen Zeros, to a lesser extent, mythic pets and mythic heroes of high quality. And then finally, once we get more of them out there, I want to add lands to that collection, because right now there's only like 100 something lands. So obviously they're super expensive. I want to wait till the next set of lands drop, then supply is going to be way higher. I can get one or two, right? I don't want to buy them now, and like I think someone was happy to buy them for 10,000 US. I'm like, oh, 10,000 US when like Gen Zeros were like 2,000 US. Like I don't know if I'd rather have 5 Gen Zeros,
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to just go for the most valuable things like you are doing. But on the other hand, especially when you're using DFK Helper, for example, there's a lot of value in just the amount of heroes you can hold as well, I think,
Yes.
for when the other new players will come.
Yeah, but here's my question for you. What's coming right now is PvP, right? So like I have 200 something floor heroes that I'm all leveling up for PvP. So by
But are you
leveling them
all
up for,
going to use them yourself?
no, I'm gonna flip those to people. I have my PvP peer heroes behind my main wallet, so I have all the mythics sitting there, right? The only time they leave is when I send them off to do their duels, right? But otherwise, they're all sitting on the main wallet, and they're just being leveled up, right? I'm missing like a Sage and a Dread Knight. I have every other mythic in the game, right? And like I saw a Dread Knight, but I just picked a Gen Zero up over it because like, come on, how can I not? You know, but what I mean, all that to say, because I know the demand up front is not going to be for crafting, it's going to be for PvP. Once that happens, I'm going to take all the rest of that money, and then now that the PvP heroes are sort of kind of all taken, now I'm going to build up the crafting because I still have a bunch of time. That's sort of the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
Or like it's not wrong either way, you know.
I'm usually very early with things, and probably way too early. But yeah, for me personally, I just have some legendary and mythic heroes I can use for PvP, and then
perfect.
I doubt whether there will be. Well, it will probably be quite a lot of demand, but PvP will be developed slowly as well, and I'm not sure how much people will be willing to pay in the beginning before all the crafting and items are out.
But this is why I want to get rid of the common and uncommon floor heroes for PvP, right? I'm not going to use them, but I know that the team has already mentioned they don't want people to just feel like they need mythic heroes to participate, right? Because mythic PJ heroes have the biggest advantage, right? Plus 15 stats from a PJ badge, plus 10 every 5 levels. So that there will be formats where I'm sure there'll be caps, whether it's common only PvP, right? Uncommon only PvP, or stat number below this number total to sort of be qualified. Those things will come into play. When those things come into play, I feel like this is where those things will be overvalued before people actually get to play the formats. And I want to sort of dump them or get rid of them, and then sort of take that money and put it somewhere else where I think I can use it. And right now, like I don't know. You might have seen this. I bought my 5th Gen Zero maybe a week ago, and it's just like Gen Zeros right now are just like I can't justify buying anything else in the game over Gen Zeros if they even come close to in price,
Yeah, I personally don't own any Gen Zeros, but they are they're very nice asset to have.
Yeah.
Maybe shall we continue a little bit with the items, or
let's keep going.
So I think people have talked about the stone use a lot lately. So no, we can maybe skip this, but if more stones were used, a lot more gold would probably be used as well. We'll get the egg hatching. Hopefully, the pet feeding will introduce some use for it as well, because I think a lot of people aren't holding any of the items and gold at the moment just because they don't feel like they will need it. And when I, for example, was crafting stones, and if you craft 100 stones, you will need for almost 500,000 gold to do it. So then you start noticing the value of the gold and how slowly you actually get it.
I did like 50 egg hatches, and I realized how much gold I needed. I had to swap a bunch. And this is sort of what Vibes is saying here, right? Currently stacking gold and swapping for jade and crystal, right? So like it's sort of, you get it from your trading quest, and it sort of funds like the gas fees and all the power token fees that you need for all the in-game activities. For JQ, I was in central London until this morning. I flew home, so now I'm back in Toronto. I do have a flight back on May 12th. I don't know if I'm going to take it. I might just say, forget it, no more traveling. But I'll let you know. So keep going. I don't want to derail this.
So potions will help when we get PvP, and I think eventually crafting will make it really go up. But as you said, crafting, I think it will be at least a year out. Not sure how long you think it will take, but
they said at least a year, and crafting will happen in lands, and you have to pay a fee to the land owners. That's sort of what they said about this.
So that's also why I think holding, or gold will probably continue to go down unless there's a lot of new demand for it, but it's not exactly clear where it would come from at the moment.
Gold could also be a sort of requirement for PvP as well, right? That would be nice.
It could be. Yeah, in the same way as it's used for duels then.
Yeah,
But
probably
do
more
you
than
think a lot of rewards will be given for, or what kind of rewards do you expect to get from PvP?
It depends. They might have PvP that has like death of heroes. They mentioned that heroes could die in combat before because they mentioned that Gen Zero heroes are immune; they're immortal. So I know that because they mentioned that there clearly is some mechanism they have in place where they will have combat where heroes can die, and potentially
That's
when
one way to
heroes
solve
can
it.
die, they want the reward to be decent, right? So
Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
like if the hero can die, the reward, the upside would have to be, I wouldn't say like significantly good, but it has to be worthwhile. I made a recommendation on Twitter about potentially having like what I call like a hero meat grinder of sorts, where like you put the hero in on Clayton and like depending on like the rarity, it sort of increases the odds of what kind of stone you get. So like, just for starters, I throw a number of like 90% of the time for a common level 1 hero, you get like one lesser stone of the biggest stat they have, right? And then like if and then 8% or 8.5% is like a regular stone, 1.5% of the time it's a greater stone, and then like those odds increase as you go from like common all the way to mythic, and then they also increase as you go from level 1 all the way up, and potentially could even be like, is it over level 10, maybe you get a second stone, who knows. But those are some of the options that that there could be, what I'm saying? And I think there's got to be some sort of like incentive to do. And if it is something like this, having gold be used, I think they need to tie back the number of heroes. They know what the hero population is. They know the population growth is incredibly high, right? I think dark summoning was like 60,000 heroes over the last 4 months. And besides that, they still had an influx of like 200,000 living heroes. So, with all those heroes coming out, all the items, gold, etc., are a function of hero population. They need to do something that like adjusts for that. Maybe it's having high requirements of these items and certain things. But we'll see.
Mm-hmm. It's also interesting to see, I think, what they will do for the level 10 profession quests. Whether there will be new kinds of rewards or just more of the same. Because if the pet feeding will take significant amount of resources, and you'll be able to get different resources when using the pets, then they could maybe solve it in a different way as well. But yeah, now it mainly looks like there will be a lot more supply, and that's maybe why they are looking at reducing the hero amount.
Right.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing to do, though. Just reducing the summoning cooldown is probably the easiest way, but
it's my least favorite way.
Yeah, it would be nice if they could integrate your ID, for example, but then with combat.
Yeah, like there's so many ideas. I know Grady wrote out like a 2-page thing on what you could do. I think it's more of an extension of dark summoning, but I think there's tons of good ideas. I just think removing functionality from, so like for example, I have 5 Gen Zeros, right? As a Gen Zero holder, like a Gen Zero holder typically is somebody who's more invested in the long term of the game, right? If you're a short term investor, you'd just buy a bunch of tokens, buy a bunch of jobbers, and just sort of grind it out, sell your profits, whatever. If you're a Gen Zero holder, yes, you can do that, but it's not as efficient. But you are betting the game is going to do well long term, right? So to take functionality away from Gen Zero holders, as well as like the market for heroes is so booming right now. Like the value of a Gen 1 10 out of 10 hero, the floor is like 180, 190 crystal, right? Probably relatively cheap compared to fiat money. But in terms of power tokens, like if you consider a Gen Zero pair of 60 crystal together to make a hero, it's 190. So it's like a 200% return if you didn't rent. If you use two Gen Zeros, 200% return. That's never been the case before. Like just off the bat. So I don't know if we have to change the market at all right now because there's a huge demand for heroes. But the demand for heroes is coming out because everyone wants to sit there and try to create perfect monsters. Why? Because there's nothing else to do right now in the ecosystem. Everything right now in the ecosystem is preparing for what's to come. But the way you prepare is by building the best heroes, right? By trying to work in the lab like Mythic Squad and sit there and like try to figure out like how do you build all this out? You know what I mean? So
yeah, so I don't think the problem is necessary, or so if for a Gen Zero holder, if they reduce the cooldown, your rewards will be even higher probably. I think Gen Zero holders wouldn't lose
why?
because the cost of Gen ones would go up even more.
So it's
Don't you think?
possible, but here's the one thing I would say: there are a ton of people who are hoarding Gen 1 10 out of 10s as well.
Mm.
Right? So
So
like
they could, yeah.
they can come and dump them, right? I think the challenge is if you're somebody who it's like this. The way I look at it is if you went and invested a bunch in and bought something on an assumption, right? That was existing currently. Like here's the functionality. And then tomorrow they're like, "Hey, actually, we're gonna change this." And there's no real reason, right? Like the reason that they want to increase summoning cooldown is because there's too many heroes out there. And the reason there's too many heroes out there is there's nothing else to do right now, right? So in the past, burning mechanisms, like the reason these burning mechanisms are out there is there's no actual demand for hero. They didn't have any other demand for heroes, right? That's why they have dark summoning. Because there's no actual like demand. Like I've been watching like Game of Thrones and stuff. Can you imagine if when you had land, you had to have like 100 hero villagers or whatever sitting there protecting your thing, otherwise your thing won't run. Like you have to stake them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they're just bolstering to like run the show, right? Running the infrastructure. Stuff like this would actually take a lot of heroes out of circulation and use them to run something like almost like playing the gas fees for your land or something. You know what I'm saying? These are the things that the team. That's not the example they should use, but things like this is how you can take heroes out of the equation that aren't sitting there like just being burnt, but there's a necessity. So people want heroes, right? Because if you have land or if you have whatever, you need heroes to activate this. But while they're activating this, they can't be used in questing. They can't do double duty, for example. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we just need a lot more development for those things. Right?
I agree, but like, so here's another example I would give. I don't understand why if you just had a kid, why are you able to work? In real life, that's not how it works, right? Like, can you imagine some mom has a kid and then goes, "Oh, by the way, tomorrow you're going back questing." That would never work. Why does it work in DFK? When you're on cooldown, that should be it. It shouldn't be you get to do everything because then there's no decisions to be made. Do you get what I'm saying? That could also change stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. You could. Um, would it matter a lot? It probably make a little bit of a difference, but if heroes that have a summon cooldown because they've just been summoned or just have summoned themselves couldn't quest.
Yeah, so I think the best games make you make decisions, right? If you get to do everything, there's no decision. It's a no brainer, right? Like, okay, cool. I'm gonna summon. I'm gonna quest. I'm gonna list the hero for sale. Then it's just like, why is it that like you can go out here, craft this thing, summon here, quest here? You're doing all like, is that reality? I don't think so. I don't know though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. It would be more fitting to be able to do one thing.
Right. Like, can you imagine going to a tournament but also having a kid at the same time? That would also never happen, right? So these are the things that would make you actually decide, okay, which one am I prioritizing? I can't do everything. That's sort of where I'm looking for the team to sort of have some ingenuity and be like, they may have some reasons why they don't want to do that either, right? I have no idea.
It does make it more complicated probably because you wouldn't be able to summon after you've quested your hero. And I think
Or
when
it
you're
could be like
using,
if you have to summon, it takes like 15 stamina or something. That would make sense,
Mhm.
right? I
Yeah,
I don't know, right? But it would have to be something where like you like if it like the thing is heroes power everything. If heroes can't do everything, of course the ecosystem is gonna go buck wild, especially since you have automation, right? If
Mhm.
like in the absence of automation, this wouldn't have gotten so bad, right? Because people wouldn't be sitting there with accounts full of thousands of heroes. There'd be no need.
So do you think that Duel should uh, adhere to the same thing as well?
Sorry?
So shouldn't you be able to duel while you're questing a hero?
I don't think so. Like I think they should all. I think everything you use in the game should use stamina, right?
It's a fair
Ev-
point. Yeah.
Everything that you use in the game should require stamina. Each thing has a different requirement for stamina. I don't know, right? And that way, it's like okay, cool. You summon, you used 15 of your 25 stamina. Now you can only use 10 to quest with. Just stuff like it's just. I, I'm not sure what the right answer is, right? But that would be way more balanced to me than saying, "Hey, I'm just going to remove your options," right? Give the player the option to decide, but don't make the decision for them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the thing, I probably agree that it would be a good idea, but there's just some practical things that may be experienced as annoying. If you if you've just quested your hero and you want to duel it with some other heroes, then you won't. So just thinking about if I would be doing it manually,
Yeah.
then I would have to keep track of all the different combinations of things I would want to do, and I would have to choose between using my hero to duel and get rewards from it and leveling it
But
more. That's
let
probably
me ask you
the
this
good thing
question
about it as
though:
well. But
do you think you'd have that problem if you had 10 heroes or if you had 100 heroes?
uh, it's more complicated when you have a hundred.
Right,
Yeah,
it scales up, right? But here's the thing: DeFi Kingdoms, I don't think was built for people to have hundreds and hundreds of heroes, right? I think because
I
of
don't
all
know.
the stuff that's been going on, people have built up accounts. But once again, it should be if you want to do this, like it's not about. So I understand like user experience and making it easy, but it shouldn't be making it easy at the sacrifice of just sort of having things unbalanced.
So, how many heroes do you think someone should have? Because when you have lands and PvE and you want to send some heroes to one place, some heroes to another
Yeah.
place, if you only have 10 heroes, there's a very limited amount of things you can do. You
Right.
won't
Well,
even be able to.
it really depends on if they can double down and do double duty or not, right? Like if everybody can do everything, then sure, right? But for example, I don't know what lands will look like. I don't know if they're gonna have something so that, you know, what is it called? Like, will they treat it like, you know, Game of Thrones kind of style where you have like hundreds of people like, you know, living under the Lord, right? And doing all this stuff? Or is it going to be like every hero is relevant so that they aren't just going to sit there. So like it's complicated to answer that question without really knowing what the team's idea is. I just think that if every hero is able to do things without any sort of limitation and barrier, then it's not a game. Then you end up just having pre-programmed actions that like you don't have to be a genius. So like how's this? Mellow, has there ever been a day where you told DFK helper, don't quest my hero? Probably not,
Nope.
right? Exactly. Why? Because the decision is already made for you. What kind of game is everything just done on autopilot? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, um, but for example, DFK helper
Yeah.
also levels our heroes for us,
Yeah.
and if I would be manually questing,
Mhm.
then maybe I would. Uh, I don't know. That's probably a bad example, but not be able to. I wanted to say not be able to level it because I've already sent him back on a quest.
Yeah, but
Um,
leveling is different because leveling actually resets stamina, right?
yeah.
So that one I can see being a little different, but like for me, it's also like what's it called? Like, how to put it? If you have like, okay, so something that's clearly taxing, something that's really taxing to somebody, right? Having a kid's very taxing, right? To be able to have a kid quest and then go be put on the tavern, does all of that make sense from a lore standpoint? Probably not. Does that make, and like from a usability standpoint, if there are no limits on any of this stuff, everybody's gonna pick every single one of them and maximize 100% efficiency. When you do that, it's not a game, because like you don't need to be a genius to say, hey, I'm gonna summon with my Gen Zero every 3 days, like clockwork, and then quest them, level them. It becomes so monotonous, right? What decisions are to be made there? There are no decisions. The only decisions to be made are, let me go to ADFK, let me go and match the hero and make sure I get the best genetic mix I can right now. That's it. There's no other decisions. Everything else is brainless. Like before we came on, like 2 minutes before we came on the stream, I was sitting there clicking and putting my heroes in the gardens to quest. Like there's no decision, because it was either yes or no, and there's no downside to doing it. So like I said, it's not the solution. I just think that by having some sort of move reservoir like they have with stamina that you have to draw from, you make it so that you can't just do everything.
It would definitely create more scarcity. I like it from that standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know if it would work, but these are the things that teams got to think about, right? So yeah, we'll just quickly check the chat, just because I know there've been a bunch of people talking here. JQ, it's sam@thebrownjet.com. If you go to the YouTube channel, you can find my email. Lesser Stones have been doing great. I haven't been using Stones really that much. I use them on everything but my Gen Zero summons.
They've been going up because of the Dark Summon event.
That's exactly. But that most people aren't summoning with like Gen. What am I saying? You can't summon with Gen Zeros there, but people are summoning for monsters with Dark Summoning, right? I think Stones are good when I want to build a hero to keep. The problem is when I'm flipping it, a lot of times the stone value is not reflected in the hero price, and that's the biggest challenge I've had, which is why I don't use them with Gen Zeros. We will see heroes gain 1k XP with pet boost. That would be sick. One of the few items I provide liquidity for: Stampot, Swift Thistle, Lesser Stones, Tears, Sailfish. Interesting. Stampots may be a small dip in short term. Yeah, so this has actually happened before. The team airdropped a bunch of stamina pots. Stampots crashed. I think it was like last summer, and then they skyrocketed again. Swift is coming down a lot, probably because of the upcoming DFK Duel Season 4 announcement. Lesser Stones and Stampots eat up my gold. Duel is a great way for Stampots. Yeah, cool. All right, I'll check my email after, JQ. I think the demand of items would increase. Yeah, so the more people we get, of course, it will suck up the supply. Imagine if we get 10x the users, we would see the hero market boom. We would see all the power tokens increase and everything else like that. So that'd be great. Hey, Grady, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Mellow, your voice is going too mellow. Could you please? I think that's fixed, so I think that we're good. Sir Mir, all right, perfect. You got 5 Gen Zeros too. That's fantastic. Grady says, without bots, the game could have died. Quest fatigue is real. People give up on team. Yeah, it is tough sometimes, even for those of us who strongly believe in what's in front of us. There's a lot, and we just gotta be patient. Power up automation is good. Summoning cooldown equals cooldown for everything, or you could have like some sort of reservoir, like stamina is used for everything, right? Like, and that could be something like they already have negative stamina as is. You know what I mean? Like, when you have like you cancel a quest and it puts you that clown icon, or the clown, like the spinning red, white, whatever. Imagine if your stamina went down to like -30 or -50 when you summoned instead, or something. That way it sort of makes more sense, right? Right now the summoning cooldown is great as a trigger for me to remember for summoning, but if there was a sort of reservoir of activity we could use for everything, it would be pretty cool. One idea. Hero inflation is sort of an overused statement right now. Yeah, exactly. The Dread Tree 10 out of 10 floor is like 220 crystal, and regular floor is 180. Yeah, so this is the thing. And the regular 4 being like the expansion Gen 1s, right? So the Seer, Berserker, Legionnaire, Scholar, and the Dread Tree is all like 220, which is, I love it because I think I have one Legionnaire. I sort of got rid of the other one, and it's just nice to see like the OG Gen Zeros create a ton of value. Only 710 out of 10 listed, doesn't change, take a big sweep to change the market. Yeah, fantastic. Completely agree with you, Apex. Thieves are in short squeeze. So thieves are the number 1 Gen 0 in the OG class because of their 10 out of 10s have always been overvalued. I remember because I used to own a Gen 0 Archer, and it was such a pain. The Thief was the most expensive to always rent. It was the worst. I always saw the limitation come more from what your heroes will have to specialize in. Eventually, heroes will have to optimize for PvP, PvE questing, or crafting. Yeah. So while I agree with you right now, questing is the only thing we have right now, and then we'll have PvP. PvE is coming after, and then crafting for over a year. So I get that limitation, but that's a self-imposed limitation that we put on our heroes because a lot of them can sort of play double duty, play triple duty, right? A PvP hero should be able to be very good at PvE, and for the most part, like even for questing, we don't really care. Like, at this point, do you care if you get a little more tiers? Probably not. It's not worth the boost, I think. When a game needs a bot, it stops being a game. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? I think this is still a game. I think, when we get to sort of play even deeper, and I think games are fun because you get to make decisions. If you just got to like sleep and have a robot do the same thing for everybody, and it's not even like you have to sort of specialize everything, that's sort of where it becomes like we're not really playing a game anymore. We're just like running algorithms, right? I think this is why it's let's make decisions. And then the people who make the better decisions will do better in the game. That's sort of what we want. Instead of everybody gets everything. That's sort of where that comes from. Now, I know we're at an hour. I know you have a bunch more slides. You want to go through them right now?
Maybe some. I can mention some things quickly and skip some other.
Okay, sure.
But while you were talking, I was thinking. So, with if the summoning cooldown would be extended, then or probably the reason heroes feel so cheap right now is because Crystal and Jade have gone down as much.
100%.
And it's not because it's priced very low in Crystal and Jade.
Yeah.
And if we would make it like 6 days, for example, instead of 3 days for Gen Zeros, then we would have a lot less summons, and Crystal would go down even more. And then we would
have a use case for the tokens, right?
Yeah, and then maybe Gen 1 10 out of 10 would cost 500 crystal or something. That could be possible if you extend it enough, because there will be less supply of them, and the price will go down even more.
Agreed.
So that's one of the things I wanted to or was thinking about.
Somebody mentioned actually using fiat for summons on Twitter, and that sort of was my response was like, people don't like holding Jade and Crystal, and if you remove even more functionality, then it just becomes hatching, right? Even right now, like when people are summoning, they're typically going on to Serendale 2.0 because you get a big discount, right? The discount has gotten much smaller as Crystal has dropped significantly more than Jade recently. Like it's still a tiny bit higher than Jade, but it's getting close to parity. But it's just like we need to like. I personally don't like the fact that we have that many power tokens, but now that we do, I think it's important that we make sure we keep the functionality there, right? And I think this is where like heroes used to bolster can sort of be something, or heroes having to pick one or the other. Then you need like if you want to summon with heroes, they can't be the same ones questing, and they can't be the same ones dueling, right? Make that like give players that sort of flexibility to pick which one they want to use a hero with, not let me do everything. But yeah. So this thing you're showing, is this from ADFK? Where did you grab this info?
No, I actually have an Excel sheet. I can quickly show it, but I made this myself once just to check all the item price and stuff. and checked in gold as well. So I pulled it out of here.
Does it automatically update, or do you go in there and update it?
So it pulls the data from Dex Screener.
Oh, nice.
And I have it for the Clayton chain as well here. So I use this to calculate the market caps and token caps of different items. But it's a bit much if I show these sheets probably.
Well, that's incredible.
I put some of it in here. But I just want to show like the market cap for gold, for example, is only 37,000 US dollars, which if you have put $370 in gold, then you own 1% of all the gold in DeFi Kingdoms, which for me feels like it's quite cheap already.
Yeah.
And for example, if you look at Swift Distal, a couple of days ago, the total market cap of Swift Distal was higher than from DFK Gold.
Wow.
Which it really amazed me, to be honest. So in here, if you look at all the quest items that you can sell the vendor, so it's not this Shavas runes and tiers and stuff, but you would sell all the items at the vendor, you would get another 1.6 billion gold. Wow. And there currently is 1.37 billion gold.
So I have a question for you. The one that I'm looking for the most is tiers here. Did you capture that somewhere else?
Yeah, you can see it over here.
There we go.
The market cap of tiers is 271,000 US dollars.
Wow.
So gold is 1/7 of the tier market cap at the moment.
Wow. Okay.
And also I put the Shavasa Moksha runes here because they were a little bit higher than I expected myself.
The Moksha rune one is actually one that surprised me because I went to trade them in, and I was pleasantly surprised to see I was getting more than one jewel for them each. I was like, wow.
So compared to some of the other tokens, and also if you look at how much you need to craft some stones, for example, it feels like the developers or they probably want that a higher part of the cost will be in gold eventually. If you compare it to, for example, the amount you pay for tiers when you craft a stone. Because almost all of the cost to craft a stone is currently from the tiers that are used. And I think, so for the last, I think half, so the past 6 months, the market cap of gold has remained quite stable, but the price has dropped it's only maybe 20% from what it was when it peaked at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So it's just the amount of gold has increased a lot, but the market cap has remained pretty stable.
Interesting. It's very interesting to always look at these things because I used to be one of those people who probably like until November, December, I was selling off every item that I was getting, but then they became so I don't say invaluable, but like they were not really worth much. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just stack a ton of them. So blue stem, milkweed, especially with gardening, right? There were 3 of them: blue stem, milkweed, and
Swift Thistle.
No, it's not swift thistle. It's like
the
blue. It looks like a blue egg almost, but it's not. I forget what the stupid thing is called.
I know which you mean, but I have it here. Spider fruit.
That's a spider fruit. Yeah. So I started stacking all of those, and then when I stacked those, and these started to pump recently because of we're on the periphery or whatever, right, of green egg hatching, and we know those 2 of the 3 items will be used for those. I started like taking a bit of profit off there, but like I've been holding a ton of fish, tons of bloaters, tons of iron scales, lantern eyes, red gills, ready to just for pet feeding and pet utility. Hopefully we'll see a ton of demand there, and I think a lot of people started to do that too, and I think it's gotten a lot easier because of automation. Like on the daily, like this is where DFK helper and stuff really comes in handy. man, the amount of items I generate without even like looking at it, like I love. Like I just looked at my account like 10 minutes ago, and my other wallet got like 280 tiers, a blue egg, 30 milkweed, whatever. Today it's fantastic. It's great.
Yeah, you get quite a lot of items, but still, for me, it feels like if there would be a use case for the items, I would
Yeah,
have to quest a long time with a lot of heroes before I could make some decent equipment or
that's right.
for example.
Yeah. So completely
So
agree.
one hero, if you do a mining quest, you get like 100 gold a day, right?
Yeah.
Around this amount.
Yeah.
So if you want to make or get the amount of gold you need for one rune, then you would have to quest for. So it's like 4,500 gold to make one. Sorry, for one stone, and that's just one of the lesser stones.
Right. Right.
So there will be way more valuable equipment for which you will need a lot more gold probably eventually.
Yeah. The thing is,
Because
I,
it's
I
all
also think
cheaper stuff.
equipment's so far out too. I think equipment's going to be like a year plus out. I don't know. So the thing
But
is, like,
at some point, people will want to be prepared, right?
I completely agree. I'm right now. I hate repeating myself, but basically, my entire plan is I'm trying to get as many Gen Zeros and trying to figure out what I can do to amplify the number of Gen Zeros. So I picked up so many mythic pets before all this stuff was announced, just so I was ready to like, once these mythic sort of pets like utility come out and people see, wow, what a difference this is, how the whales will want as many of these as possible. This is when like the demand for those goes up, the price goes up as a result, and I'll be there with the
I
shop.
I actually, because the mythic pets have been like 2,000 crystal. The mythic pet floor for the last week or so has been like
The 9
2,000
stars have
crystal.
skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's true. So the higher star ones have generally gone up a lot, but the uncommon pets were the same price, or basically the same price, 1 or 2 crystal higher than the common pets
Yeah, yeah.
for a long time.
Now they
So I
pumped.
bought a lot of uncommon pets last week at 20 crystal,
Well, they,
and
they're
they've
what,
gone up
40 now?
to 40 or something
Yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly. That's
Because
sick.
I feel like if you have a lot of jobbers,
Yeah,
then and you don't want to use a mythic or rare or legendary pet,
yeah.
then the 4% experience boost for one or
Huge.
two more crystal is way better than the common pets. So I've been selling
Completely
the
agree.
common ones and buying the uncommon pets.
Yeah, completely agree. For me, the reason I have these pets is to give to somebody else who wants those, the
Mhm.
9 stars. And I looked at the 8 stars. The only 8 stars I looked at were the ones that were 2 on crafting, because I knew crafting was so much further out that in the short term it's a quasi 9 star because it gives you the combat and the profession boost of 3 that you want, and it's missing the crafting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
So that's
8.5.
interesting as well. When do you want to have which pets? Because I think for now the gathering one is important because it's the first one that comes out.
That's right.
And then you have the combat ones, but no one cares about 2-star combat bonuses. You either want 3 or you don't
That's
care at
exactly
all
right. So,
until
so that's
maybe PvE comes out.
that's why I was looking at the 3-2-3 ones. They're either 3-2-3 or 3-2-3, with the 2 being
Mhm.
on gathering. And once
The
again, it's just
crafting
like
eventually, I think, will be most valuable actually.
100%, 100%. That's in the future though, right? That's somebody else's problem a year from now.
Mm.
For me, it's just like, how do I squeeze every value out of this? Because I want to rotate more of my assets into Gen Zeros. Right? I got 5 now. I'd like to have one of every class by the end of the bear market. We'll see.
Okay, I said I would go through it quickly, but we've been at that one quite a lot as well. So there's 3 things I've been doing with gold and items.
Mhm.
First of all, crafting the stones. Second of all, the liquidity pools, and now I'm using the vendor to trade um, items for gold
Yeah.
uh, well, I'm using the vendor price as a floor for the gathering items,
Mhm.
but it will be clearer in a bit. So very quickly, maybe the stone crafting. So today or now I've put my stones that I still have left to sell them above 10 Joule, and quite a lot have been selling because of the dark summoning event.
Mhm.
So there's more demand now. But this has always been a pretty nice way to make a small profit. If you would, for example, today, if you would buy the items required to make the stone um, and sell the stone itself, you would make like 30% profit on most of them.
Really? Is that
Yeah.
like,
So
are you referring to when the carver's in versus not, right?
so these are the just the live data of the cost of all the items you need to craft the stone. So for a cave stone, for example, you need 2,000 gold, 50
Yeah.
Gaia steers, two stones, well, etc.
Uh-huh.
So the total cost to buy these items is 5 Joule.
Yeah.
If you would craft it, it's slightly more expensive because you can buy the mana vial for less than it costs to craft it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So none of the potions are worth making. It's better to buy them, except for there's barely any liquidity on them. So
I see.
so I've got them separately here. So the market price was almost 7 Joule of a chaos stone at that moment. So you can't craft the stone now, but if you have the stones and you sell them now, and you just at this moment buy all the items and wait till you can make the stone back again, you make 38%. Or at the time I made this.
That was today, like a few hours ago. A
Yes,
few
that's
hours ago
today.
for
Yes.
you. Yeah. Wow. So I hope
So
everyone's
very often
watching.
that it's
What
slightly
you're saying is,
below 50% of profit, but there's times it goes over 100 as well.
so what you're saying is by monitoring this, you're able to like make 30 to 40%, 20% on some of these, basically arbitrage trading, basically because the price of the items and the price of the actual stones have not caught up, not
Yeah,
balanced.
because you can't make the stones. So when the stone carver comes out, you notice them all dropping to zero because people just have it automated, I think, to make the stones and then sell them.
Yeah.
But when the stone carver is not out, if you've kept your stones, then you can make a
Right.
profit. So this was the I was doing this a lot at the end of last year, but haven't been doing it as much recently. Uh, yeah, but it would be nice to start doing it a bit again. But I
Right.
want to wait until the tier prices have dropped, because if you make the stones and then the tier prices drop, then the stone prices don't go up as much either. So you can still make a loss doing this.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. Like I have not been taking advantage of this, but I definitely should. I know that I think ADFK has something on this as well, right? Um I don't have it up right now, but let me see if just give me 1 second, see if I can get this up. While I'm doing that, is there anything else that you wanted to show?
So yeah, I've got the prices here as well.
Hmm.
So if you look at how much all of the ingredients cost, you can see that almost all of the cost of making the stones is from the tiers. So it's like
Right.
4 Joule in tiers and zero point 0.3 Joule in gold used.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like eventually this will switch around when tiers have gone down um, and gold has gone up. But that's maybe just, or it could be a year away that this switches around. But if you just look at the amount of items you need to make it, I feel like it's intended to have a higher gold cost here than
Right.
we currently have.
Damn. Makes sense. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. What was this? So while we were talking, Grady, great stream, thank you. As far as duels go, we want a max incentive to duel, Birch Crystal, cheaper duels. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Having different prize pools would be pretty interesting idea. Affects, all PC games have some automation or macro. Yeah, so they do, but we want to make sure it's not all automated, I think is what the concern is. Yeah, so separate pools. Mosh has been doing fantastic. I think that market cap that you just showed, Mellow, was pretty eye-opening. And yeah, you know what? We are getting to that point where heroes are crossing the 10-11 barrier, right? So that's where you need a ton of Moshka roots to start getting them up to the higher levels. I think the drop rate of Moshkas isn't very high either. Yeah, so completely agree with you guys. Hero inflation is not the real issue or the root issue. I think that the team brought it up, and I think it caused a bit of questioning just because, hey, reducing the fun that we have, right? Reducing our ability to summon, which is sort of the main thing that we're all doing right now, is sort of, oh my god, like what can we do instead? Is there a better way? Two news about Moshka will keep pumping for a while. The time to induce a summoning change was before a dark summoning event when Sage's goons were like 150 crystal. Yeah. You know what's funny about this? So Mellow, the day they announced dark summoning the first time, I should remember this date. I think it was Thursday, October 28th. It was the day of my wedding reception, and I was watching the AMA. It was like 2 p.m. Eastern, and I was late for our wedding reception because they were like, dark summoning is coming out. Here's what it does. They obviously didn't say anything, but I'm like, the first thing I thought of was, oh my god, sages and goons, I'm gonna buy all the ones on the tavern. And they were like 70 or 65 crystal for sages and goons with like, and this is back when like the floor heroes were like 28 crystal, but it was insane because 0 summons, and then like I listed them at double the price for half of them. By the time I came home, they're all sold because like everyone wanted them for Dread Knights, right? This is like the number one of our
It's insane how much they've gone up.
Yeah. Like, I was looking at it today, it's 400. It's 400 crystal now for a 0/7 sage, 0/7 goon. Like, holy crap. It's absurd.
But compared to paladins and ninjas and stuff, they used to be just a couple of crystal above the floor price of the basic class.
But Dread Knights are so huge, right? Everyone wants mythic Dread Knights, legendary Dreads, and having the ability to make those, oh my god. 10 for 60 to 80. Yeah, we have not, since we had the last time before they were 60 80, they have not broken the 110 crystal floor. And now they're like 180 crystal, which is absurd. Yeah, C floor is 32. That was a time. But the other thing though is like at that time, I think crystal was like 18 cents or 14 cents or something, right? Crystal's like 3.5 cents now too. So
yeah, you have the tier cost and people summon in Serendale, right? So
yeah, exactly. Serendale makes it so much more profitable. Team is looking for feedback. Starts a bi-weekly event for dark summoning. Chicken vegetable. Don't know what that means. What does chicken vegetable mean? Okay. With greater crystals and greater stones of prizes. Hey, Sergeant, how's it going? Hey, Worm, how's it going? You all playing chess while I'm playing? You know what? Sergeant's such a humble guy. He's just saying that. This guy is always on top of everything. I mean, I know he's been doing some of this stuff. All right. Grady's caught up, which is fantastic. Stone Carver Arbitrage Amplified Dark Summoning event. Yep. Damn, this was Grady's old strategy like 6 months ago. Yeah, I remember he was talking about it. He actually, one of the first live streams I did with him, he mentioned this and he used ADFK. But I don't think it was like 30% AP. I think it was like a 10% gain at that time. So great to see that sort of expanded. Auto quest and auto level power up ASAP.
So now it's more as well because of the dark summoning event, right?
Yes.
So the last week it was not as often at these percentages.
I also think that one of the things I've learned, this is something that's really opened my eyes, and Skiller and Be Easy helped me see the light here. If you pay for well-stoned heroes up front, you don't have to pay through the nose for expensive greater crystals, right? Like if I had better stoned heroes from the get-go, that would save me so much money on crystals. You know what I mean? Crystals are like the cheap, like inconsistent way of trying to get that same growth stats. You know what I mean? Like for the 10 boost, if I buy a greater crystal, I'm getting a plus 15%. I've already missed out on a bunch of bonuses that I would have got if I use a greater might stone or a regular might stone or even a lesser might, as well as the growth stats. So like I'm starting so far behind, and I gotta pay this on every single level. And it also hurts when you miss, right? Whereas with the stone, it's like stoned heroes are just so much more powerful, right? And I realized that.
Especially at the early levels. At the later levels, it doesn't matter that much anymore. But
Yeah.
the bonus you get, especially if you need to do training quests with it,
Oh yeah.
it matters a lot for the amount of XP you get at the beginning.
Yeah. I
Uh,
saw somebody with
it
like
feels bad if I have heroes that don't have a stone. It always feels bad when starting to level them.
So I completely agree. I think the challenge is a lot of the mythics on the market were not stones. So I bought every stone when I could, and then like the perfect ones. And now that I got all of them, I've been going back and buying the non-perfect ones that have the stone, so I can use their power in PvP and have the other ones as more of a collector's item. You know what I mean?
If I buy non-stoned heroes, then usually I assume I will end up dark summoning it at some point.
Yeah, I just wanted this as a collector's item, right? Like I wanted every single hero, Gen 1 10 out of 10, Gen 1 5 out of 5 advanced, Gen 2 3 out of 3 elite.
Do you plan to
Just
keep them like that forever?
I potentially was thinking about just selling the whole set to somebody as a whole set eventually, but having them all at level 20, selling them as a set to somebody who comes into the game, right? Think about things like Clash of Clans, right? People show up and they just want to be able to drop a bunch of money and like have the best stuff. I want to set them up for that. No, but Gen Zero is everything else, you know?
There's probably some will out there.
Yeah,
Will
100%. Once the game takes off, I expect this to happen. Unfortunate liquidity is so low on stones. Mirror stones are like 35 crystal, yeah, like or 15 jewels, something like that. Yeah, high as fuck. Lesser stones, 12 to 14 jewel. Yep. People are just lazy. Never think of future summons. The margins that used to be huge, now it's a bit more difficult to do with stones. When crystal and jewel will hold do the same, will go up, will hold do the same. I'm doubling down on heroes for mining. I'm not sure what the question is saying. Well, when jewel and crystal go up, oh, will gold do the same? Yeah. So gold should potentially go up as the use case is there, but also gold should go up if the ecosystem does better too. There's a sentiment piece and there's also a use case piece. They did well making the DS event when the Stone Carver is gone for 2 weeks. Yeah, that was really smart of them. Awesome analysis. Interesting. Yeah, so Mel, this has been very, very useful. Sometimes I find it not really worth it to follow stone prices anymore because it doesn't move much and not much liquidity. The thing is, you can use Xearn. So I've been using Xearn, I think it is, to sell and buy stuff. So I've been selling a ton of stones there, and I've been getting paid out big time. Like if you want to sell your greater stones, there's no better place. Moksha drop rate is about 1/3 of Shivas, but you need 2/3 Shivas with 1/3 Moksha to reach level 20. Yeah, makes sense. Shiva's runes has also seen a bit of a rebound, I think. We will see it happening when population level reaches level 15, 16. No, man, I used to 3x my stones at times for real. Yeah. I would craft, hold, and the sell. Sometimes even 5x. Wow, 5x. Yep, Grady used to say that one stone is equivalent to like 20 plus lesser crystals. Yeah, it's probably even more. Like, yeah, it's absurd. Like, I just the more I focus on hero quality, the more I'm like, man, not using a stone is just a kick in the teeth. And it's just like I don't like leveling up heroes using crystals. I'd rather use stones, and then I can use cheaper crystals if I need to. All right, we got 5 minutes left, Mello. Is there anything else you'd like to leave the folks with?
Yeah, there's one thing I do want to mention
Yeah.
because I mentioned this a couple of times before. So I'll skip this about the liquidity pools.
Okay.
So my strategy at the moment using DFK Helper is to use the vendor as a floor for the price for the items. So I hope I can explain this a little bit clearly. So I buy certain items when they are at the price you can sell them for at the vendor. Actually, it's the last one, I think. So these are just some assumptions because I want to hold some gold, want to use it in some way. It's better to use to hold the items when you can sell them for the same amount of gold as you would be otherwise holding. So I'd rather have one gold vein than 100 gold because I can convert it back into gold, but can also sell it or use it for something else.
Yeah.
and the item liquidity pools don't have that great returns if you pull them with gold. So when gold fame, for example, gets at or below 100 gold, I just try to buy as much of it, and I do the same for all the other items. And I use DFK Helper to do this, and that's why Zealous, or I asked Zealous to enable me to buy items with gold. So this is
because you can pick it right in the spreadsheet, right?
yeah, exactly. Now you can pick it in the spreadsheet, but it used but it wasn't an option earlier.
Right, that's very
So
smart.
here I just have an example. I actually try to do it with 3 times this size at the moment. So the maximum amount of all those items, I just put some of the items here that I'm trying to buy. Well, you can see it here. So
Yeah.
for example, I try to buy actually 60,000 Ember DeFi, but for this example, it's 20,000. And here I'm using 250,000 gold per item. If I would buy all of it at the price, I can sell
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
and then I just put a lot of sell orders and tell it to keep, for example, 80% at the first sell order. So when Ember DeFi goes to 30.75 gold,
Right,
I sell
because you
4,000.
were buying it at 12.5. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just keep increasing the sell level and sell more of the inventory, and then I'll buy other items when they drop to their lowest point.
That's a
Because
very
usually
cool order book thing you got going. How much are you making off that in gold?
So I've just started it doing it this month, because first I was buying, or I was already looking at these numbers because I wanted to create liquidity pools.
Yeah.
And I was just buying them as cheap as possible compared to the gold price. So currently I'm stacking a lot of the items still, and not many of them have been selling, because all the items I already owned, I just put in a liquidity pool and then used a set amount of gold to start buying all the items. So you're familiar with this, I assume.
Yeah.
So in the Telegram from DFK Helper, I just get the messages that DFK Helper sold Ember DeFi, for example, for over 5.5 thousand gold, because I buy it in batches of 5,000 gold and then sell it for 5,500 gold at the cheapest level. And the gas fees are about 5 gold per transaction when you're buying or selling items of this size and stuff. So it's almost all profit when it sells again.
Wow, that's amazing.
Excuse me.
That's really cool to have, like, just it churning and doing it for you, right? You're not doing any of this manually. Like you set it up once and it just sort of runs for you. Right?
Yeah, so this way I just try to make more gold, and I try to hold as many items as I can instead of holding the gold itself. But when I can get more gold for it, I flip it back. And in this way, even if gold goes down, which it, well, very likely will, then I still get some decent returns on it and don't feel as bad for holding it.
Like you're taking advantage of, like, moving the money around. So, like, even if it goes down, you're still making more of it. So you're not completely screwed. Yeah. It's funny
Yeah.
when they had the $100.
And of course, I hope it will eventually go up, but yeah.
When they had the 100 USDC challenge, I remember I made like 60+% on my account, but the price of Crystal had gone down like 35 or 40%. So, like, I was only up like 15 or something like that. But, like, imagine if I just kept it straight in Crystal, it would have got destroyed, right? So yeah, complete like your strategy. That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything else you want people to take away? Because we gotta wrap this up. I just gotta pack for tomorrow because I'm
no, this was one thing I did want you to mention, because I hinted at it before and wanted to
Yeah.
show it to other people, just to let them know what I'm doing with gold.
Yeah,
So
sweet.
thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, so one thing I would say is, hey guys, like if you do have DFK helper, or you think about signing up for this, this is a really really cool table that Mellow is showing here. I've screenshotted it so I can look at seeing how much of this I want to implement into mine. This is something that's very interesting. I do want to thank Mellow for sort of sharing like his insights on like gold, on items. I think the beauty about DFK and the beauty about this ecosystem is you don't have to be an expert on everything. The community shares a lot, but there are so many ways to make value, earn profit, whether it's through summoning, whether it's through flipping heroes, hatching, item arbitrage you're seeing here, like so many different things that you can do. And it's really cool to always hear about another strategy. So Mello, thank you for coming onto the channel. Thank you everyone else for watching. Grady, I did read your comments. So that's pretty absurd that you were able to sell those stones that you were crafting for 5x your cost in the past. Now you're saying it's 1.3x plus lack of liquidity. So that's completely absurd. Guys, like I did say I wasn't going to have any more live streams for 3.5 weeks. I've had 2. I don't think I'm going to have another one. I leave tomorrow morning. So I just got back from the UK like 5 or 10 minutes prior to the stream. I leave tomorrow morning to Vancouver. I'm gone for 5 days. And then I fly to Chicago for a work conference for another 6 or 7 days. So I'll be back mid-May, probably like May 12th, May 13th. Around that time, we'll be back to doing our regular streams. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank Mello for joining the stream. Hope you guys have a great night. Thanks. Bye.